This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.
Hudson Auto Works is conveniently located off of Highway 29, 812 Post Street, Greensboro, North Carolina. Our beautiful 15,000 square feet facility is home to 21 highly trained professionals offering used car sales, collision repair, automotive detailing, and the best customer service you won't find anywhere else. Visit us at www.hudsonautoworks.com or call us at 336-772-0685.
At East Coast Wings and Grill. Enjoy 75 tasty flavors of buffalo wings, fresh salads, burgers, and a variety of delicious dishes. Experience a family-friendly atmosphere you can't get anywhere else. Fresh, family, fun.
Get your business noticed with quality vinyl vehicle wraps from Roof Sign Service. Roof Sign Service has been providing truck lettering and quality printed vehicle graphics for over 50 years. Now they offer premium digital printing wraps for all types of vehicles. Add a new element of energy to your company's image. Get more mileage out of your business-to-business advertising by wrapping your vehicle into a moving billboard from Roof Sign Service. Roof Sign Service in Greensboro, where you can get wrapped and get noticed.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
On the way to deciding 70 drivers that will advance to round 2. The schedule takes 40 drivers north of Atlanta to the Commonwealth of Virginia for the first short track race of the season. We're live from the virtual Richmond Raceway in Henrico County, Virginia. We welcome you to the 4th race of round 1 in the 2024 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series live on FTN. Welcome to Richmond. Welcome to the booth. We're alongside eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver for Joe Gibbs Racing, Daniel Falkingham. I am Kenneth Bueno. And Daniel, we're missing Jason Rockefeller tonight. He's not here. Unfortunately, he has work until 9, so he won't be able to be in the booth with us this evening. But tonight should be an action-packed evening. It's our first short track race of the season. And you highlighted it before we went live. Difficult to pass, pretty physical on the racetrack, which should be the breeding ground for a lot of fun and probably a lot of beating and banging between the field tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. They've called Richmond the action track for so many years for specific reasons. We're going to see a lot of bumping and grinding, hopefully, and there's going to be a lot of side-by-side racing. But like I've talked about, it is probably going to be a little difficult to pass. I experienced this in Tuesday night with the next gens, but with the trucks over the years in the Road to Pro Series, like, it's been very difficult to pass with how much dirty air comes into play. While we haven't seen Richmond on the schedule for a few years, it took a break from the schedule of Road to Pro last year, and it's back for this year in 2024. So we'll see how much has the racing changed. What are the conditions going to play? Will we get any long runs to see, like, if we have some good handling trucks move through the field? That's all to be decided. But I'm really looking forward to see our first short track race of the year.
You know, one of the last times that I covered Road to Pro was back in 2022, and Tucker Minter dominated the Richmond race, and there were a lot of cautions, a lot of craziness throughout the race. I imagine that we'd see a lot of the same throughout tonight's event. Drivers going through qualifying right now. Before we get you through all the drama and excitement that'll build up over tonight's first short track race of the season, let's get you through the schedule and tell you the story of what this eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series will be all about. And Daniel, this is the first short track at Richmond, no doubt about it, but we have a bunch of diversity throughout this Road to Pro schedule, which only will highlight those who are able to master all the different types of disciplines of racing. We'll have Texas Motor Speedway next, but then you go to Dover, Darlington, and Charlotte. As we get to midway, what's the biggest challenge for the drivers as they get to tonight's race at Richmond and as they look forward into the rest of the schedule?
Yeah, like, as we look at the schedule, this really is the only short track we have in this first round. Like, we've seen the first couple races, we've had super speedway-esque like racing. Tonight is really the first time we're going to see, like, who truly are going to be the front runners, with how much handling is going to come into play, how much kind of skill it takes to be able to tame a short track like Richmond. Because Richmond, it ain't like your ordinary half mile oval. It's about it's 3/4 in length. It's got this kind of like D-shaped feel to it, so definitely it's a sort of kind of technique is going to be required to get around this very weird short track. But like we said, first short track race of the season, it's really going to be the first race where we're going to see who are going to be the front runners throughout this Road to Pro season.
And we've seen multiple different winners throughout 2024, all of them equally as exciting. Daniel Nanny, the winner at Daytona, then Connor Euroshak for Nexus Esports, getting it done at Las Vegas in stunning fashion. And Atlanta, just 2 weeks ago, Daniel, we call the crazy race all the way to the line at the newly formed Atlanta Super Speedway, where Christopher Hill was able to grab his first win of the season. So is there really a clear favorite now that we've got 3 different winners and very different types of racing throughout the year?
Yeah, that's kind of intriguing to think of because, like those 3 names that you just said, I think we're going to expect those 3 to be up front anyway with just how strong that they've been, like, throughout all these races. And even though it's got, like, we've had 2 mile-and-a-halves that kind of race like super speedways, and we had the big wild card at Daytona. But I think those are 3 drivers that we've seen out of 3 big-time back-end teams. Like, you got, like, Altus, you got Reiko in there, for example. So I'm not going to be surprised if we'll be seeing those guys run in front tonight, but I think we're going to see more consistently of who's going to be strong at the front of the field. And who knows, we might see some names that really haven't had the greatest of performances yet. We might see a change in pace with some new names possibly at the front.
You're right. There's a lot of chances still for drivers to make their names known in these 2024 Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series events. Well, drivers are currently on the track for qualifying about a minute and a half before we get to the green flag here from Richmond Raceway. And you sort of mentioned it, Daniel, the lack of ability to make easy passes at this track. You really have to earn your money at a track this short and with the trucks that will be featured over the course of the night. Just because it's difficult to pass, qualifying will be big. Drivers want to have all that track position possible. And as you, in a driver's mindset, how do you strategize yourself to qualify like that? Because a lot of times, there may be other tracks where, sure, you can be the comer through the field and make your way through the drivers in front and get to the front of the field in enough time. But at a track where it's pretty hard to pass, where you want to make your life a little easier by qualifying up front, what's that mental challenge like as you go into this qualifying session?
It's going to be difficult for a lot of these guys that qualify towards the back because, like, looking at this race, there's only 120 laps in this race. That is not a lot of time to cut through the field, especially if we have a nice long green flag run. Obviously, there is probably going to be at least one pit stop, but I've been hearing rumblings that if you try to save a lot of fuel from the beginning, you could make it all the way without stopping at all if this race goes green start to finish. So the strategy is up in the air tonight, and that's something I was very thrown off about. That some guys could make it on fuel if they choose to, like, just save right from the jump. So a lot of factors, a lot of storylines going into this race as they are gridding up.
They are ready to take the starting grid, and with that, we'll bring you the starting grid of tonight's race number 4 for the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series from the virtual Richmond Raceway. We're on the pole. It will be Brandon Hawk in the number 31 machine. He'll lead the field to the green flag for this 120 lapper. He'll be flanked by Johnny Avila in the number 63 machine on his outside. That'll be to row number 1. Back in row number 2, Joseph Galata will be inside of the second row from third place, River Hayes, who's had several decent races over the 2024 calendar year. He'll be on the outside in position number 4. Rounding out your top 5 is Kevin Champagne, pretty close to the win several weeks ago at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He is flanked by Will Cooley in his number 23 truck. That'll be on the outside of row number 3 in P6. Back in P7, Tyler Luttrell will be in the number 6 machine inside. Outside will go to Carson Bowers in the number 32 machine. And then rounding out your top 10, Johan Seminario and Brandon Hawken, the Canadian, through the top 10, Daniel.
Yeah, starting P11, we got Pesk Series driver Zach Campbell making his first appearance here in the second split. He's going to start from P11, and Jack May's going to start from P12 for Team Conti. Starting at P13, we got Jimmy Norman, and then in P14, rounding out row 7, we got Hamilton Akabuze. Starting in P number 15, in row number 8, we got Patrick Gitter and Daniel Nanny, a winner at Daytona a couple weeks ago. Then looking at row number 9, we got Jacob Potak and Jake Nichols, rounding out 17th and 18th place. And then Kenneth, rounding out row 10 in the top 20, Kay McClenny and Joshua Balliet.
Las Vegas winner Conor Yuroshak looking to get his second win of Road to Pro in 2024. He starts inside in 21st. Dalton Millam in the number 19, pretty well performing at Las Vegas and Atlanta. He's going to be pretty far back in this field from 22nd. Row number 12, you'll find these two to bring us through to row number 12 and 24th. John Hall and Alex Murray. Behind them, top 25 position held on to by Kyle Brummett. Agnell Phillip rolling deep in this field from 26. He'll have a lot of work to do, and so will Derek Heitman. Finished well at Daytona, looking to continue a pretty prosperous season so far. Matthew Boniface going to be in the number 22 on his outside in 28th. Rounding out your top 30 will be Perrin Huggins in the 16 and Travis Manning in the 20.
And then rounding out this field, the final few spots, we got Noah Bitts and David L. Brown rounding out row number 16. Justin Patello and Matt Danson rounding out row 17. And then the final spot on the grid belongs to Dylan Pettis. He will start 35th and shotgun on this field. That's your look up and down of the running order. And pretty good field tonight, 120 laps, not a lot of time, so a lot of the guys starting in the back like I mentioned. They better get a move on early.
We'll have 120 laps, will be a total of 90 miles. Doesn't seem like a lot. And Daniel, you guys in the Coke Series just several days ago had a feature race of 50 laps shorter than this distance. So 120 will matter. It'll be a little longer, but still more sprint than a marathon. It's going to be very quick here from Richmond. We might have a lot of cautions. We might have a lot of physicality, but it's up to answering once we drop this green flag out of 4. Well, Brandon Hawk and Johnny Avila will see the green flag for the first time tonight for the first short track race in the 2024 Road to Pro season. We're racing from Richmond.
Oh yeah, nice clean start so far out of the top 10. Brandon Hawk got away very nicely. Johnny Avila is going to settle down into second as they're coming around to complete the first lap. Brandon Hawk will lead that first lap as we got a battle for third place between River Hayes and Cam Champagne.
Just as quickly as that, lap 1 is over. Lap number 2 of 120. Hawk pulls away. Avila and Galata filing out the rest of the top 3, and they're already beating and banging for about third on back. River Hayes getting physical there with Galata. Galata in that Team Conti Chevrolet Silverado will pull away and make that the completed pass for the top 3 position. We're going to see a lot of this early, though, Daniel. Drivers fighting for lines, and throughout the Coke race, how did you experience that? I know it was a really short race, so maybe not enough time to fully use the oval refresh updates on the sim, which can allow you to move throughout different lines here at Richmond. But what was that like, and what are the difficulties of trying to run the inside, middle, or very top to just gain advantage over the others, and most importantly, gain the clean air?
Yeah, for sure. I was very intrigued to see like how the lines were kind of moving around. Where I found out like you could make the higher line work in turns 3 and 4. You can make it work in turns 1, 2. Like you can make it work all over the place. You could run right on like that first white dotted line, run that second lane, or you could sometimes run right up near the wall to get a very big run off the corner. So I mean, I do have to applaud iRacing with the work they've been doing with this whole refresh, and that's only the first phase. So I'm very interested to see what other phases come with it as they continue to work on the NASCAR oval side, which is what we've been wanting for so many years, is give us like different lanes to work on, but allow us to give us the tire grip and allow us to like get a good tires to allow us to be able to do that without killing our tires a lot. But was very intrigued, especially with how short the race was on Tuesday. It was pretty much go from the drop of the green flag. So like, that definitely calls for a lot of incidents for everyone who's going right from the jump immediately. But for these guys, they have a little bit of time to kind of sort things out. But obviously, as we get through the rest of this race, like, if it goes green for a long time, the time's just going to run into really quickly. So it's going to be important for a lot of these guys tonight to be able to go right from the word go.
And with the way this race has gone, 7 laps in, you can see from about first to about 8th place, it's all single now. Our first side-by-side battle now has just turned to nose to tail. Brandon Hawken in that 8 machine, Ford F-150, following behind Tyler Luttrell and leading Carson Bowers, who leads a two-way fight for 10th. Johan Seminario, Zach Campbell, the Porsche Esports Super Cup driver, running for VRS, running that middle lane. A bit of help there from Jack Mace, the British driver, right behind him in the fellow Chevrolet Silverado. And here at Richmond, of course, it is tough to gain the track position, which in turn will be tough to gain a lot of the points. And after the race 2 weeks ago at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Daniel, it feels like the drivers who finished high enough in that race, even if they weren't the winner like Christopher Hill was, I mean, they're parlaying that success to Richmond tonight. River Hayes didn't have the best run at Atlanta, but is picking up 4th at the moment. Joseph Galata, who finished 2nd right behind the winner, Christopher Hill. He's running in 3rd. And then Johnny Avila, who finished 3rd at Atlanta, he's running 2nd. So a lot of the guys that ran up front at Atlanta near the end, despite all that went down, they seem to be running well for themselves here at Richmond. And the top 4 pulled away to the tune of about a 2nd.
Yeah, I was about to bring up, like, the top 4 seem have pretty good short run speed right now, as they have driven away from this pack. And right now, this pack being kind of led by Mr. Will Cooley there in the number 23 machine. But yeah, I wanted to go back and talk about Atlanta. Like, a lot of people a couple weeks ago, they had some really good races. They scored a lot of points, especially for Chris Hill, who went on to win that race. And what's big for Chris Hill tonight is he is not in our split tonight, because he is in the top split tonight over on the iRacing Twitch channel. So, like, for him, that's another big opportunity to score a lot of big points, like, if he can finish well. Because the higher you finish up in the top split, that's a few more points that get paid out compared to winning in second split. Say if you finish, like, top 3, top 5 up in the top split. So, for Chris Hill, another night, it's a big opportunity for him to score some more points, and hopefully maybe just get him closer and closer to logging himself into round 2 with all the good results he's had so far.
Good news for Hill, and that win, you could easily argue, shot him up through the iRating, and of course, garnered himself as a top split driver like he is tonight at Richmond. You're looking at the battle inside the top 15. This is Nexus Esports aligned with Front Row Motorsports as Connor Euroshak, the winner at Las Vegas Motor Speedway about 4 weeks ago, following behind the Daytona winner Daniel Nanny, who's trying to get to the outside of Johan Seminario. This is a pretty long line of trucks, Daniel, building up at the 42. No. Carson Bowers sent sideways. He's going to save it in the middle of 1 and 2.
What a save. He hangs onto it, but he's getting swallowed up quickly as there's a spin. Seminario gets spun around on the back straightaway, and it's not going to bring out a yellow. He spun right off the racetrack, did a 360, got it back straight, but he got it back going. As we're going to get a look at the replay here, there you see Carson Bowers just gets punted right out of line. Not sure exactly what happened there, and then just everyone right there just trying to avoid all the chaos, and Seminario was just a very unlucky one to get spun out. And unfortunately, like I just said, no caution for that.
So chaotic through that half lap from about turn 1 to the back straightaway, and Seminario right behind Bowers, the plume of smoke out of the Toyota Tundra. It appears it was still a straight race truck, and then off of 2, bit of a wiggle. Not sure if there was some help there from Euroshak. But for Seminario, goes for the spin, and that's the biggest point. No yellow flag. He's going to be at the very tail end of this field as we continue to rock through lap 17 of 120. And speaking of which, fight for the battle up front really isn't a fight at all. 7/10 of a second separate Brandon Hawk and Johnny Avila. So this 31 truck for Ryko has seemingly dominated the first sector of this race. No one really has been able to catch him. This appears for now this 31 truck will have the catbird seat until somebody can put the fight up to him. But for the most part, everyone through your top 5 have all separated. And Daniel, that's where you're really starting to see the skill difference. And you mentioned how the setups and all the teams are so competitive that there really won't be that big of a gap between drivers. But it seems as though early in this race, whether it be through conservative moments or not, drivers up at the front, they're starting to pull away by a considerable margin.
Absolutely, especially if, like I said, if you're Brandon Hawk, you're loving this clean air right now. You're loving this race, going green, just clicking off the laps right now. And for Brandon Hawk, this is a big run he needs because he's up here. It looks like he just joined the second split here tonight with how low of a number he is in the session. And if he can be up front and win this race, then that's a lot of points right on the table if he's able to stay up front and win this race. And that will definitely help him to try to proceed to round 2. But yeah, for a lot of these guys right now, very spread out. The top 4 are pulled away from this little pack that's kind of formed behind them. But as you see, everyone is just single file. We got a little bit of side-by-side right around outside the top 20. But other than that, right now, it's just everyone. And as you see, some guys are trying to move around like Noah Bitts. You saw how high he was running down at 3 and 4, maybe trying to get a little bit of clean air to see if he can get some turn on the front end and maybe to try to carry some more speed on that outside lane, which we might see come in as, look, we see guys all over the place right now.
Noah Bitts trying to recover from a 20th place finish 2 weeks ago at Atlanta, rocking the Hard Rock Sportsbook number 6 Ford F-150 and Hard Rock Bet, most recently implemented to the state of Florida, which I live not that long ago. And here's Connor Euroshak, fellow F-150 for Nexus Esports, diving on the inside, but thinks better of it. However, you are right. The experimentation is starting to come forth here. 22 laps in, where we're seeing more drivers move to the middle, now top lanes. I'm not sure whether it's really giving them all that much of an advantage, but the fact that they are experimenting is for sure one to note about it. You talked about your experience before we went live a couple of days ago for the Coke Series race. I know that was a lot of newness in it. A segment winner decided at the end of that race, heat racing, a fixed setup, and then of course only a 70-lap feature. Did you feel any of the movement throughout the different lanes or drivers trying to experiment? Did you try to experiment with it? And how was the track overall, and how can it relate to some of the drivers that we see tonight over the course of this race?
Yeah, it was very noticeable, and I was, like I said a couple minutes ago, I was very surprised at how well it actually kind of worked. Like you see guys like trying to highline in 3 and 4, or some guy just trying to roll the bottom. And it was mainly everyone is just trying to look for clean air too, because we know how important clean air is on the front end of all these trucks, of all the next gens too. And for me, I was trying to experiment a little bit on Tuesday, but I'm personally a bottom feeder. I love to roll the bottom at any track we go to, because I feel like I'm best at keeping the tires on it, and I always feel like if I can just run the bottom at a good rate of speed, I can always try to find that clean air. I can find that good roll speed, and it's just more natural and it's more comfortable for me, because obviously we all know the bottom is the shortest way around the track, but it isn't necessarily the fastest all the time. But that's something I've been trying to work on, is trying to experiment with different lanes, trying to experiment running somewhere I'm not comfortable with, and that's what all these guys are trying to get after right now, running all these different lines. Everyone running this second line up here throughout, like outside the top 10, outside the top 15. We got a heck of a race back here. And I saw Noah Betts, he's still trying to work on trying some different lanes, which I believe he is the biggest mover. He started 31st and is currently P17.
And it's working for Bitts at the moment. Might be a move up here for position number 8. Here's Zach Campbell eyeing in on the Canadian. Brandon Hawkin, one of the few up here at the front through the top 10 to experiment with that second line. So is Jack Mace in the 07 right behind this duo of trucks. And I really like, Daniel, your method of describing why you run the bottom lane. And it really shows the difference between you as a Coke Series pro driver on the sim versus me, probably the most average to below average race car driver on the sim, to where I'm just scared of running the top. I know I'm gonna hit the wall somewhere if I try running the top lane, so I just stay to the bottom. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not gonna try and go up there if I hit the wall. As Champagne tries to fight off this pressure from Will Cooley, and now Hawkin on the high side.
Yeah, we got a very big battle here just outside the top 5, battle for the 6th position. Kevin Champagne, he's holding on to it pretty well so far. But like you said, side by side right there with Tyler Lateral, Brandon Hawkins, and Zach Campbell, like we mentioned earlier. His first race here in the second split as well. He's trying to make some noise up here in the early stages. We're already on lap 30. We're already under 100 laps to go. This race so far is flying by real quick.
And you mentioned a possibility of drivers taking no chances on pit road at all, just staying out for the entirety of the 120 laps. Is that the willing gamble that you'd take if you're Brandon Hawk? Let's say if a caution doesn't come out, because I think we both anticipated we would see some clashing throughout the field and certainly a yellow, but for now, we've run green flag.
Yeah, that's going to be something we're going to have to notice. Like, some guys might choose to pit right around halfway, like split the race up in half. But some guys, like if you're in the back, maybe right around mid-pack, you might try to stay out and go as long as possible to catch that yellow. Because like with how short of a track Richmond is, whenever you pit under green, you're going to lose 1, maybe 2 laps depending on where you are on the racetrack. So it's kind of like that game of chance. Like, do you want to pit, or do you feel more comfortable trying to stay out and just hopefully you get the caution that you need? And some guys, like I mentioned, may not even pit at all if they're like saving fuel right at the back of the field, because I've heard some people about trying that strategy where they save all the fuel they can to go without pitting the entire race. But we'll have to look at the fall off as the further we go into this race too, because we're around just past the lap 30 mark, so we might are seeing the peak of all the fall off these guys are feeling right now, right around maybe a second and a half. I'll have to get a better look at the lap times here. But for right now, everyone is kind of stabilized in their lap times right now. Some might be falling off more than others, like Kevin Champagne. He's starting to lose a little bit of ground right here.
You're right on the marker, Daniel. These drivers have fallen off about a second from their best laps throughout the race. Champagne continues his plummet through the field, got jumped by Brandon Hawk and all those guys running the middle lane. Champagne now under fire from Jack Mace. This will be the last spot available in the top 10. So Champagne might be in danger of losing out on top 10 territory. Champagne, who finished 6th 2 weeks ago with that race EPI rainbow truck scheme at Atlanta Motor Speedway, wearing the same colors tonight at Richmond, and does lose out on this fight for 9th against Jack Mace. Big pickup there by Hawken in the number 99. He moves up to 6th, and he's bringing a whole cast of trucks with him, Daniel. It seems like Zach Campbell, Will Cooley, both of them, or rather Tyler Luttrell, both of them moving right in synchronization with Brandon Hawken. They're trying to catch up to all of the drivers ahead from 5th on forward, but it's a tall task for now. It's about a second and a half.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. From 6th place to 15th place is all within a blanket of 2 seconds. Like, it's just a big single file train going on right here, just showing it is very hard to pass unless you're like Zach Campbell here trying to make this outside work around Brandon Hawken, and he's going to get to the outside lane, making it work very well. And this is to get to that 6th position, and maybe Zach Campbell clearly has a good enough truck right now, starting in P10, he started P11, and he's now about to crack up to P6, going to gain 5 spots so far in this race. Now with him being in this little bit of clean air he's got for the time being, maybe he can make some progress. But as we're seeing this race go on, we're seeing that high line become more and more of the dominant lane to run.
And we're also seeing drivers in the midst of the top 20 get a little closer. We've seen them as the best battles so far throughout tonight's race at Richmond. It still rings true about 40 laps in. There is Luttrell, who moves right past Brandon Hawken, using a bit of that middle lane, and here is Campbell running way up high. Not sure if he missed the corner entering turn 1, but it opened the door for Luttrell to make a move. Backs out entering 3 and 4. Campbell will reset from this middle lane, and all looking again to catch up to those running 5th and further on through the field, which, I mean, they're running similar lap times, Daniel. It's not really anticipated that they'll catch them by any blistering pace.
We got trouble. One of the Nexus Esport trucks is going around, but they hang on to it, trying to catch. Yeah, that was who it is, the 13 truck. I believe that was that was Hamilton Akabuze, who got shipped into turn number 1 there on that last lap. But he did a big old slide, but he was able to hang on to it just fine. But the problem is that's really going to hurt his rear tires. His tires are going to be overheated. Now he's got to get them cooled back down so he can get some grip again. But I saw that right out of the corner of my eye. Someone go sliding there. Didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I thought we were going to have our first caution right there. But they hang on to her and we stay green.
Well, Akabueze is side by side with the other truck that almost brought out our first caution in Carson Bowers. Went sideways entering turn 1. We'll see if we can get a better look at exactly what happened between the 13 and the other drivers that might have been around the incident. This is entering the first corner. Yeah, you're right. Noah Bitts just gives him a shot at the rear end, and a beautiful save by Akabueze. Same scenario that we saw Carson Bowers in, and both of them are able to hang on to it.
Yes, they for sure again. But as we see Carson Bowers, he has been struggling a lot ever since that little tangle he had early in the race. He did start 8th, but is back to the 20th position. So he's had a little struggle to the start of this race, but hopefully Like, he's going to try to make up some time here. Like, right now, he is in a good spot in the point, so if he has we have a caution on the racetrack, as we're not sure what that is, but there's our first caution of the night, as that looks to be Dalton Malam around there on the backstretch.
And CTRL Chevrolet Silverado going for a spin, a bit of rear damage on the truck as well. Goes for a tumble a little bit. We are under caution for the first time tonight. 44 laps in. Did not expect it to come this late, but nonetheless, a couple of close calls, and here's where it all derived from. The 34 truck of Milan running in front of Matt Danson, that Altus Engineering Chevrolet Silverado. Daniel, what happens here?
I believe we're going to have a little bit of contact from that 30 machine of Matt Danson, and that's exactly what happens. Just hooks him in the left rear, and a little bit of a stag up with a few other trucks, but everyone mostly gets away clean without any serious damage. But yeah, Matt Danson kind of just misjudged how close he was to Dalton Malam's truck right there, and unfortunately sends it around, brings out the first caution of the night.
Here's a look from Danson's point of view, just sends that number 34 around, and a bit of the contact which gave the rear end damage to Malam in the first place. So our first caution coming out here at lap 45, and this is where you see either the gambles come out or everyone in a consensus call. For the moment, Brandon Hawk, the race leader, who has led every single lap from the drop of the green flag, will take everyone behind him in. No real calls to stay out, but we'll see if two tires are a possibility here. Daniel, do you expect that to be the case?
We're about to find out here. That's what a lot of us did in the Coke race on Tuesday night. A lot of two-tire calls, but of course this tire is very different from the truck in the next gen, so I think it's what I expect here. 4 tires for everyone up front as Brandon Hawk. He takes 4 tires, and he's going to come out the race leader, and everyone's going to come out in a nice, orderly fashion.
So it appears everyone all good as they exit out of pit road, and everyone still following Brandon Hawk. However, this is the opportunity for Johnny Avila, Joseph Galata, the rest of those guys hanging inside the top 5 to maybe make the chase to Hawk and create a change for the race lead. Is it a little odd, Daniel, that we have a Brandon Hawk in this race and then a Brandon Hawkin right behind it? It's been a little confusing hearing them both.
It's kind of throwing me for a loop a little bit there, because those two are just so close. The names are just so close to one another, but thankfully I can spot. They're each different trucks, at least. I remember Hawkin in his usual yellow machine that I always see him in whenever I race him in, like, FTF and all other leagues I race with him in. So, yeah, the names may be confusing at times, but thankfully their paint schemes ain't as close to that. Doesn't allow us to screw it up even more, as I'm kind of stumbling over my words right now.
Hey, it's all good. I think we're all stumbling quite a little bit. There is the 56 machine coming back down pit road. That is Johan Seminario, who was involved in our first spin of the race. Although it wasn't enough to bring out the caution, Seminario is going to fall a lap down and is going to be the first and only truck a lap down to the leaders, as we'll bring the lights away from the iRacing official pace car. We'll double them up and get things ready for you here at lap 49 of 120. Just a quick reminder that if you want to keep up with all of the updates and follow along with all the storylines in the world of eNASCAR, you can scan this QR code on the bottom left of your screen to jump into the world of eNASCAR and dive in. You can learn about all of the standings, the schedule, all the drivers in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, much like our very own Daniel Falkingham tonight. You can get all the latest news from the great Justin Malillo, and of course, you can find out how to become an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver yourself. Just scan the QR code and jump into the world of eNASCAR, the official partner of iRacing. Green flag in the air, a lap 49 of 120, Hawking away early. Entering turn 1, the fight for second on, though, between Avila and Galata out of turn 2.
What a great jump is. Oh, we got a little contact. Brandon Hawk and Jack Mace getting together. We're 3 wide throughout the middle of the pack. And it's getting crazy. Oh, we're almost 4 wide. Oh, we're trying to make it 4 wide. Noah Bentz is all the way up near the wall. But he's going to get a great route the corners. We're 3 wide, 2-3 rows deep, as we're going to have a caution on the racetrack as they're wrecking further back. And
it was not because of the 3 wide action that you were looking at through the mid-pack. Some drivers did get into some incidents near the back of the field. We'll take an eye on exactly who that might have been. But for the moment, everyone seems to be okay as we push forward. One truck looking to catch up with the rest. That is Patrick Gitter. We assume he might have been involved in the caution. The answer is yes. And speaking of which, Daniel, he was in the middle of 3 wide action near the tail end of the field, right in front of David L. Brown. Goes for the spin.
Yeah, I don't see any contact from David L. Brown there. He looked like he just looped it right on his own, just trying to get on the power off turn 4 on cold tires. Tires not quite at the temperature just yet, and just kind of looped it on his own as we round on board here. just kind of lights up the rear tires a little bit too much and then just goes around, but thankfully no one else hits him. No damage done, just going to cost him a set of tires, unfortunately.
Ditter, who was banged up a lot through one of the first several races of this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series, will get himself back going. No damage on his Chevrolet Silverado, and he'll try and continue on. But this is really our first on-track caution that comes right after another within the next 5 laps. We had a really long green flag run to open this race, and Daniel, I really want to ask you here. I know that we're not in a long run now, and drivers are still on relatively fresh tires, but there are many different lines of running here at Richmond. A lot of drivers like to arc it. A lot of drivers like to stay low. And on new tires versus old tires, that could really be a topic of conversation. Do you see any big differences, changes from guys like Galata, Avila on Hayes on how they run their trucks with fresh tires because they want to catch up to Hawk? Or is it just going to be hang on and you can get all the best points you possibly can, even if you're not winning this race, now that we're almost halfway?
Yeah, I think that's just, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. Of course, all these guys up front, they would love to get the points to make their lives a little bit easier in the point standings. But obviously, every driver out here always has a goal to come out and win, obviously. Like, so some people's goals might be different. They might just be out here to try to get as many points. Some guys might be out here to go out and get that win. But for right now, as we're closing in on the halfway point of this race, it's still to be decided. And plus, if we get another long run, we're going to have to think about pit strategy a little bit, if people are going to stay out on the racetrack or if people might take tires. Something that we're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen as we get deeper in the race, as we are closing on halfway. But this is kind of the stretch of the race that we've been looking forward to, or we've been kind of waiting for, where we just get that rash of yellows that just seems to never stop, kind of like what happened on Tuesday night as well.
It's the age-old saying, cautions breed cautions, and as soon as we got the first, we'll probably get the handful of others to follow. Hopefully, though, we'll have much more green flag racing to tell you about throughout the course of the night, because over the first 45 laps, give or take, we've had a lot of fun covering the different types of action and obviously the different lanes drivers were employing to get around each other, the big movers, the likes of Brandon Hawken and Zach Campbell, who that 30 truck currently runs in 6th place. A lot of those bigger movers throughout the field were making that difference just because they could experiment a little better than the drivers around them. However, all in the chase for Brandon Hawk, who leads this race and continues to lead all of the laps. And you know what, Daniel? I was a little surprised that we didn't see more two-tire calls. And I know that during the broadcast of the Coke Series race a couple of days ago, Pasoko and Blake McCandless, both of them were sort of talking about the strategies you could use, how Tucker Mincher one time didn't even take tires at all, ran about 40 laps more than everyone else while they all had fresh rubber and was still able to get the checkered flag. And even drivers on two-tire calls getting a lot of success. Is it surprising that we haven't seen two-tire calls for you at least? Or if you were a driver here in this scenario, you would take 4 like everyone else?
Yeah, I think with this scenario, with the trucks being so different from the next gen, like the tires just react way differently. Where I feel like in this, you can push this tire a little bit harder than you can in the next gen, and plus just how the tires wear, or just how they wear on cold tires, just the heat cycles are very different. So I think with how these tires wear, I think it's better off to take 4 tires right now, but as we get later in the race, if we do need to pit again, some guys might stay out, some guys might try that 2-tire option. We'll just have to wait and see, as we got lots of racing left, as they are coming back to green with, looks like 65 laps to go.
A single truck accident bringing us our most recent yellow. It's Brandon Hawk and Joseph Galata to lead the field out of 4 and bring us back to green flag racing from Henrico County, Virginia. Hawk away first to enter turn 1. Once again, Galata and Avila go in this bout for second place. Galata's got to power on the outside and make the move. He'll be within a car length of your race leader. Side by side for third, River Hayes and Johnny Avila out of 4.
Some more side-by-side action further in the back as they're 3 wide again. I see Jack Mace just popped the wall a little bit, but we got the 3 wide racing, 2 and 3 rows deep. As we see Noah Bitts right up on the outside lane. He loves that outside lane a lot. He's been using that very well tonight, been able to move up through the field. But as everyone trying to get single file here, as there's Kevin Champagne on the bottom, Noah Bitts up top. And that's John Hall in the middle as we're going back 3 wide again. And this is what we're going to see on a lot of these restarts. Everyone trying to send it 3, maybe even 4 wide to pick up some spots. As speaking of 4 wide, here we go, 4 wide. And I don't think that's going to work. They kind of, they're trying to make it work. Oh, no, they're not. There goes John Hall. He is spinning. And we got a big crash further up front. Agnell Phillip, I believe that's Connor Euroshak and others. And that didn't work out well like I thought it would.
And it got really chippy as soon as they made it 4 wide. There's a look at Euroshack's torn up Ford F-150 as they all ran up the hill, crashing, entering turn 3. The biggest mess of the night from Richmond.
The biggest mess of the night for sure. Kind of looks like Tuesday night a little bit, having a big old wreck there. But let's get a look at what happened. But I just saw 4 wide out of the corner of my eye with these 4 guys, and I don't think it was going to work out that well. Just a lot of sliding right there. Oh, more guys getting collected, but this is where all the junk happened right here with Agnell Phillip, Jack Mace getting together. And here we go, see, Agnell Phillip gets thrown into the inside wall, but really nothing much Jack Mace could do. He was just trying to hang on from all that 4 wide action. And then you see a lot of others get collected in the aftermath. John Hall, Connor Euroshack, 2 Nexus trucks getting the worst end of it. As we saw, Euroshack, winner at Vegas, his night's going to end a little bit earlier than he wants to.
4 wide action, all of them running out of real estate, and then the reaction from Agnell Phillip, Jack Mace, both of them collecting together and going hard into Euroshack's machine. Noah Bitts, who was stuck on the outside there, really had no space to maneuver with. He was just stuck where he was and just faced all of the contact as it moved forward. We're going to look here from Bitts' number 6 Ford F-150, him running on the high side, making it 4 wide, and it worked for a moment, but Daniel, some drivers just don't see the others around them, and it can get really tight when you're trying to get an advantage on the other, especially when you want to get an arc. Entering turn 3, Noah Bitts getting some of the worst of it.
Yeah, I think he got a little too egregious there because 4 wide is hard enough to do at a short track. Because, like, a lot of people, like, a lot of these guys might have spotters, some guys might not. But, like, even just trying to put a 4 wide with a crowd like this, it's very difficult to do. Some guys can pull it off, but as we saw there, a lot of people can't they just don't realize that they are 4 wide because they're really in their blind spots. Like, you can't see in the mirrors, can't really see on the outside of you. So, I feel like that was a little too much of an egregious move, but, you hate that for Noah Bitts, who was doing so well throughout the whole night to get up through the field, starting near to the back, but, he's going to have a lot of damage fixed. He's going to try to pull off another result as we are now, Kenneth, just past the halfway point.
At halfway, and we're already at several cautions. This most recent one being the biggest for sure, involving many of the top drivers in the mid-pack. Of course, Connor Euroshack, who's now a lap down and probably going to be more laps down throughout this race as he continues damage repair on his number 13. Then you have Noah Bitts, John Hall, Alex Murray, among those that got all the damage. Here they are coming down pit road. Dalton Millam in the number 34 machine. And just a bunch of them looking to get all of the damage fixed before everyone can come around with the pace car to send them a lap down. And that becomes a really big issue, Daniel, at a track this short, because let's say at Las Vegas, let's say at Atlanta or Daytona, it's much harder to be a lap down or more. But at Richmond, because we're only at 3/4 of a mile, you pit for damage or you pit for any reason that's unscheduled, you could fall 2 laps down or more, and that could easily kill your race.
Yeah, sure. Not a lot of times get any damage fixed at a track like this, so it's going to be very important to get as much damage as you can fix and just take advantage of these cautions. Just get as much of it fixed as you can. That is allowed for you to do. So, but yeah, for a lot of these guys that are now damaged and are in the back, it's going to make this race a little bit harder as we're now past the halfway point. The urgency is going to ramp up a little bit because everyone's going to get even more and more aggressive every restart we have. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here.
We've seen 3 wide action on both of the last 2 restarts, and then 4 wide for a moment just before they all watered it up. Entering turn 3, we'll see if it will be the same case this restart by at lap 64. Field still in control. Brandon Hawk, the number 31, with Joseph Galata on his outside of the first row. Pace cars down through the restart zone. Hawk gets through the gears. We're back underway from Richmond. Kevin Champagne already eyeing back there on 3 wide. He'll get it as they enter turn 1. This is just outside of the top 10. That 94 stays down there. Hawken in the middle. And on the very outside is Daniel Nanny. Champagne backs out. Hawken's going to win the fight. And then here's the mess throughout the mid-pack.
And there's Noah Bitts right back out top. I thought he got killed way worse than I thought. But he's still trucking up on that outside lane. He's making them moves right around the outside of Jack Mace and around another Nexus truck downstairs. He's still continuing to make it work, but right now it looks like everyone's settling down right now. We got another 3 wide move down here on the bottom. That's actually 2 Team Conti trucks down there on the bottom. And there's Jake Nichols popping around to the outside in that 73 machine. But yeah, for Jack Mays, he's been losing a lot of spots in these restarts, and he's not in a good spot right now.
This is 14th place up for auction, and still no clear winner out of the bids. Here's Dylan Pettis in the 18 truck on the inside of bids. The 73 truck right behind them, David L. Brown, Carson Bowers, of course, Jack Mace, and they're all following Jacob Potak, who finished 16th 2 weeks ago in that Nexus Esports Ford F-150 at Atlanta Motor Speedway, under fire from Pettis, exiting turn 2. Still a mess, but not 3 wide. Probably good for everyone else in the field. They did not want to stay there for that long, and the biggest winner out of all of that was Kevin Champagne. Moved him up to about 12th position and fighting with Joshua Ballier entering turn 1.
Entering turn 1 with Joshua Ballier, where I believe started shotgun on this field, or no, he started 20th on this field. He still started pretty deep in the field, right around mid-pack, but he's been able to get to the field very well, battling with Kevin Champagne, as we saw. Kevin Champagne did not have that long run speed like he was hoping, but as you've been seeing, he's been taking advantage of these restarts to get a lot of these spots back that he's been losing. So definitely these restarts have been good for Champagne, and it seems like everyone else has kind of single-filed out into a nice, orderly fashion, as we are pretty much single-file right throughout the top 7 as we got a battle for P8 right here.
Jimmy Norman under fire from Hawken and Daniel Nanny. These are 3 different teams on display, but all of them bearing the Ford logo on the front end. Norman for Elliott Sadler Esports, Hawken for Nexus Esports, and then back there, Ryko represented by the Daytona winner in Daniel Nanny. Now, we don't have another caution to follow the last 2 that we've had as we cross the line for what's going to be 50 laps to go from Richmond, but we know at a track this short, Daniel, that attrition matters so much, and it mattered a lot on Tuesday night in the Coke Series. How did you handle all of that, and how, as a driver, do you get over attrition to gain all the track position that, as a driver, you may have lost in a crash or what may have you?
Well, what's great about being in the next gens is even if you take a pretty good hard leg, as long as you don't have any wheel damage, you can keep on trucking, which is what I had to do in the final 3 overtimes with a pretty destroyed front end and rear end, just trying to survive those late restarts. So, but with these guys, even getting quite a bit of damage in the trucks really hurts you quite a bit. So yeah, just managing the attrition is just you just gotta do your best to just stay out of all the incidents. Like, just position yourself in a good way to where you can just take advantage of staying out of trouble and just trying to collect some good points, which is what a lot of these guys are trying to do right now. As we're looking back in this field, which I believe is for the 9th position.
Oh, big crash on the front straightaway. Noah Bitts and others involved. Dalton Millam, Matt Danson, David Brown. A monumental wreck in a parking lot entering turn 1.
What on earth happened down here? I was looking at the battle with Daniel Nanny and Brandon Hawken for P8, and Nanny was on the move. Then all of a sudden, we have a cut to a big old parking lot down in turn number 1. We're going to need a replay on that one.
A huge crash before they can enter the first corner. There's Brown with a bit of damage on his number 83 machine, but he seems to escape this one pretty okay compared to a lot of the others in the field. And I think this started, Daniel, with Matt Danson. I think right behind him, Carson Bowers.
There it is. Yeah, with Matt Danson, and it seems like Carson Bowers looks like he popped the outside wall, and unfortunately he came back down and clipped Matt Danson in the right rear, which sends him up into Noah Bitts, and then it just triggers just this kind of just accordion effect. We're just taking out people left and right. So here we go. We're gonna get a look here through turns 3 and 4. We're gonna watch the 42 machine get a little high off of 4. He pops the wall, comes off the wall, clips Matt Danson. There goes Noah Bitts. That's the second straight incident he's been in. And then that's some guys trying to floor it right through this wreck. A couple arc brakes right there. And unfortunately, that's going to ruin a lot of these guys' race. Like, there's David Brown involved. There we go. We got some more people as we get another look on board here. This is Derek Heitman. As he's just trying to look at front. And there you go. Like, he just sees the smoke, tries to get on the brakes. There's Patrick Gitter involved in another one. And, just clipped the 20 truck right there. Oh, there's Agno Phillip. Has to come to a complete stop. But, yeah, that's just an unfortunate wreck and definitely the biggest one we've seen so far.
Poor Agno Phillip involved in 2 of the biggest crashes we've seen tonight, and for sure, way more drivers that have hit pit road. Call that 15th on back that have visited pit lane either for a strategy call or for damage repair. And this is an interesting one from Champagne, Jack Mason, the company behind him. These guys taking 4 tires, 14.5-second stop. So, Daniel, this is a call with under 50 laps to go. Is this a good one?
Well, we still got plenty of laps left, and I think with them pitting now, they are for sure not going to pit the rest of this race. I mean, it's worth the gamble. That was a lot of trucks that got taken out, so they knew a lot of people in the back were probably going to have to pit. So why not come pit? Why not take advantage? I believe Jacob Potak was the first to take advantage and pit right outside the top 10. So we'll see how this works out. I believe they still are lining up somewhere right around the top 15, somewhere around there. So we'll have to wait and see, but they're going to need a lot of green flag racing from here on out if they're going to make those tires work.
We'll cross the line for lap 77 of 120. We should get the lights off from the iRacing official pace car. It looks like we'll go another lap before we can settle this field side by side. We are 77 laps in and a lot of action still to go from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Stay with us. You're watching coverage of round 1 in the 2024 eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Richmond. Ready for the restart at lap 79 of 120. Brandon Hawk and Joseph Galata. Inside, outside of row number 1, Hawk has led every single lap from the drop of the green. And the flag is out once again as they chase toward turn 1. River Hayes and Johnny Avila fighting for third once again as the field chases the 31 to the back straightaway.
Continue to chase this 31, who has led every single lap thus far. If you are just joining us, started on the pole and has been very dominant. We're seeing a lot of crazy action. We see Agno Phillip right around the outside wall, trying to get something going up there, who was just involved in that last wreck. Didn't suffer too much damage and decides to stay on. There's Kevin Champagne. He's on 4 fresh tires. He's trying to go somewhere. Along with Jack Mason, the 07 here, trying to make something work. They pitted under this last caution, seeing if they can try to move up through the field somehow. And right now, it's kind of working for them as they're kind of the lanes are kind of open up for them on the bottom. They're able to make the bottom work. And they're trying to make up some ground here. As Carson Bowers, he gets into the outside wall a little bit, but hangs on to it. As Agnofeld, he's going to try to dive underneath Jack Mace, and they ain't going to make a stick as they're continuing to be 3 wide for several rows deep. This is crazy.
3 wide, about 2 rows deep. Now make it 3 rows entering the third corner. We're about to be 4 wide. Will Cooley on the very high side. Brandon Hawken right in the middle with Joshua Ballier and Jack Mace to follow suit down low. They single it out, or at least they trio it out to 3 wide once again, but this is the heart of the hurricane, Daniel. It has been fun to watch, but it's also been really sketchy. Champagne on company on the 4 tires that you mentioned that they pitted on the most recent yellow from about 15th on back, using all of the grip that they have right now, but they have to tread the waters lightly.
Yeah, for sure. Like right now, what they're doing, like Jack Mace, Kevin Champagne, it's really working. Just continue to roll that bottom and use that extra grip to your advantage. As Jack Mace, he's going to look under 3 wide on Will Cooley. He's always going to give a little bump to Will Cooley. And Jack Mace, he's like, get out of my way. I've got tires and I'm on the move. And he's making it work exceptionally. As, we got little action. The 28 Team Conti machine got put into the wall there. They hang on to it. Jack Mace, Kevin Champagne continue to move through the field here. As we see Connor Yard. We got a spin in the back. We're going to have another big one on the back stretch.
Multiple others involved. There's Carson Bowers, Derek Heitman, Alex Murray. Well, those that go for a spin. One of the least harmful wrecks we've seen tonight from Richmond, but at lap 85, we throw the yellow once again.
Yeah, it all started with, I believe, Carson Bowers and the 28 machine getting a little loose right in front of him. That is Dylan Pettis in the Team Conti number 28. Been trying to remember a lot of these names all night, but as you see, just got a little tap right there, and then just a few trucks go around. Wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be. Just a lot of people sliding sideways, and a lot of people just trying to take evasive action. As we see, Dylan Pettis, he just pops the outside wall there, which has really been. It's really easy to do to pop that outside wall with how kind of flowing turn 4 is and how people think turn 4 is wider than it is, but it really isn't. That wall comes up on you quickly, as there we see a lot of action back there. Some guys spinning in the back, but mostly everyone gets away kind of unscathed.
Also, too, that outside wall in turn 2 also comes up for you very quickly, and you don't really anticipate it until it's too late. There's Carson Bowers, who enters pit road. He's going to join the many others that remain on the pit lane for damage repair, although this is one of the least hitting cautions of the night. We had our 2 biggest ones come entering turn 3, and then on the front straightaway to bring us our recent up until this one. And we remain with Brandon Hawk up at the front, Joseph Galata second, River Hayes, Johnny Avila, and Zach Campbell to round out your current top 5 as time runs out. And Daniel, for Brandon Hawk, is this a little frustrating? As the race leader, you've been clean all race long. You've led the entirety of the afternoon in sim. Does it get a little frustrating when the field behind you just starts to wad it up and you're getting caution after caution?
It can be frustrating, but if I was in his business right now, I'd be enjoying all these cautions, because it's kind of making my life a little bit easier, where it's kind of making my decision easier to whether if I should pit or not, because with how many cautions we've had and how much of this race is left, he's probably going to be staying out the rest of this race, and that's just making his life a little bit easier, where he just needs to nail the restarts. He knows he's got the speed on the short run. He's got that free air up front, so as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, he might be well on his way to victory, but obviously don't want to toot my own horn here, because we still got over 30 laps to go. Anything can happen. Like, we even saw, like, these restarts can get crazy for the leaders. That's what Joseph Galata, as we see on our screen, he experienced that at Las Vegas a couple of weeks back, and I know he doesn't want to have another one of those episodes.
Yeah, great point. Him and Christopher Hill, they got tangled together as they were taking the green flag. But each caution flag and restart, Daniel, also is an opportunity for Galata, River Hayes, Johnny Avila to take advantage of the race leader. It can only take one coughed up mistake by Hawk. All of a sudden, Galata, Hayes, Avila, all those guys are going to hound him and make sure that he works extra hard to keep that top spot, because Galata, over the last couple of restarts, he's been within half a second. He hasn't really been directly on the back bumper of this 31 truck, but he's been within striking distance. Can never really count him out, and the more yellows we have, the more chances that Galata has of learning what he's been doing on the restarts and learning the type of things he can get over his adversary in Brandon Hawk for the lead.
Yeah, very much so. Obviously, Joseph Galata, he's had a few rough races so far, like we was talking about Las Vegas, but he had a really good run at Atlanta last time out. If I remember, he did finish on the podium, if I remember off the top of my head correctly. And right now, he's just out here trying to continue to rack up some good finishes, rack up some good points, but obviously, he would love to go for a win that feels like that was ripped away from him at Las Vegas. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on right here as we look at Jacob Potag. And also want to point out Jack Mays, Kevin Champagne, they have made up a little ground on those 4 tires, where Jack Mays is up to 10th and Kevin Champagne is up to 12th. So I would continue to see what these guys do in this restart, because it seems like the tires are really helping these guys out a little bit. And if we can get some more green flag racing, they might be sitting in the catbird seat.
And a third driver that we really haven't talked about, who's also on fresh tires, Cade McClenny in the number 11 machine. He's been moving up through the field, a pretty clean Toyota Tundra TRD Pro, and there's also Jake Nichols in that Miami Vice, sort of purple and blue, number 73. Keep an eye on those two. They're behind Champagne and Mace, who are leading the group of fresh tire trucks. Now to the restart at lap number 90 of 120. Final 30 remaining here from Richmond. A better restart by Joseph Galata. Will not be under fire by River Hayes, entering 1 and 2, but look at the run on the outside. This time make it 3 wide. That was Luttrell to make it 3 for a moment, and he's going to run up top, entering 3 and 4.
Oh, lateral making that third line work, and he's going to make it stick on top of Daniel Manning and Zach Campbell, and he's going to go top to bottom on Johnny Avila, trying to get names out. He's going to make a move to the inside, trying to crack her. He is in the top 5, trying to go for 4th place, but now he's got River Hayes in front of him to deal with as well as they go through turns 3 and 4. And it seems like everyone's being a little nicer on this restart as we are coming to 29 laps to go. Side by side, doing for that 3rd or 4th spot, but right now, seems like Lateral is going to fall back in line, and he's going to go right back down the inside of Johnny Avila for that 4th place. It's just so hard to make that bottom stick at this stage of the race. And now he's going to go back side by side with Daniel Nanny, who's slowly moving through this field. As we got someone sideways, ESC truck of, I believe Jack Mays got in the back of Jimmy Norman, and now they're 4 wide, and now they're again turning. There's a big wreck once again, and there goes Jimmy Norman, Jack Mays, Matt Danson, David Brown, and a whole bunch of others.
And Jack Mays got right hooked, exiting turn 4 as they were 4 wide. and no space to operate. Matt Danson is in reverse, driving that truck backwards. Another incident that the Altus Engineering Chevrolet is involved in. And most of the cast involved in this caution have taken pretty big hits over the course of the night, but it all starts with Jack Mace, who is in the middle of 4 wide action. Jimmy Norman getting punted out of the way, entering 3. Daniel, take us through this one.
Yeah, it all started right there with a big punt to Jimmy Norman in the middle of the corner. And then Norman, he's just trying to save it. And then Jack Mace nowhere to go then. And this is, that's questionable right there, just turning a hard left into the middle of the field. That's definitely going to be frowned upon. And that just look at all the truck that just ends up kills David Brown. Matt Danson nowhere to go. I mean, yes, like this probably wasn't on purpose. That was just an accident of Norman Lee just pulling up in front, and then it seemed like he got on the brakes. Jack Mason wasn't expecting that. And then down the front stretch, it just, yeah, like that's not a good look whatsoever. And there you go, just collects a lot of trucks right there. David Brown, and there's Agnell Phillips. That's another one he's been in. And it's just a shame for a lot of these guys having some good runs just getting ruined like that.
A look on board with Matthew Boniface and his 22 machine. He gets a good look at this and is directly involved. There they are, 4 wide. Mace is hard into the wall. Agnell Phillip into it, and Boniface just gets hit from the rear, so he gets directly sent into Jack Mace. No fault of his own. There's David Brown, who gets another huge hit. And it looks like the front clip is completely torn off of his truck. There's Matt Danson going backwards. Boy, he's had a rough one tonight from Richmond, and so has Agnell Phillip, who barely missed out on making contender last year as a pretty beat-up number 3 Chevy Silverado, and it's even more beat up now that we're 95 laps in. Look at the host of drivers on pit road, and what a tough hit it is, Daniel, for Jack Mace, one of those drivers leading the group on fresh tire trucks, carving their way through the field. It was him and Kevin Champagne leading the way. Now Mace, unfortunately, taken out of this one.
Yeah, Jack Mace, he's one of the drivers of the meatball, but that just went away, so now he's only got optional damage to fix. Kyle Brumet, David Brown was another one of those that had some optional repairs to fix. It's just an unfortunate deal for a lot of these guys that were having some great runs going and are now going to have, right now it's just all about just salvaging, just salvage what you can get and just get out here some decent points, hopefully not make this your drop week, because these guys do have one drop week in this round, and that they better make it a good use, especially with this being, some might say, a wild card, considering just the nature of short track racing.
And it gives you a little more pressure, Daniel, to perform the best way you can, because if you continue to have poor race after poor race after poor race, you have to select the worst out of a pretty bad batch. And tonight at Richmond, it might just be that one drop like you mentioned. It becomes a really difficult choice, Daniel. I can imagine, too, when you're in Road to Pro, how do you try to decide your worst race if you've had a pretty difficult season thus far? I know we're only 4 races in, but when you have an 8-race schedule in round 1, it doesn't really give you a lot of time.
Yeah, and coming from someone who had an awful first 3-race stretch at the beginning of 2022 and was like outside the top 300, 400 in points, I was already starting to count the days to the end of the season because I didn't think I was even going to make it to round 2. And even if you have several bad races, like, it's still not entirely out of the question that you can make it back in when you're in these higher splits. Because what the higher the splits you're in, the more points you can get. So even if you do have a couple bad races and you just stay in it and you finally get those finishes you deserve, it just makes it all worth it and just doesn't make those bad races seem the end of the world. Because that's what I was thinking until I finally started clicking off the finishes that really I deserved to finish with how well we were running in 2022. So. But, yeah, like a lot of these guys that continue to have bad finish after bad finish, and these guys having another one tonight, it's definitely going to start hitting them in the points a little bit, and it's going to start reflecting, especially with how short the season is, as we're going to be at the halfway point of round 1 after tonight. It's definitely going to start catching up to them a little.
And for Jack Mace, he's had a pretty topsy-turvy round 1 in 2024. Had an 11th place finish at Daytona, then dropped to 21st at Las Vegas. His best finish of the year was 5th at Atlanta 2 weeks ago. Tonight, with a huge hit at Richmond, it might just be another race he'd like to forget. Green flag back in the air, lap 99 of 120. Look at Galata sending his Chevrolet down to the inside to block any momentum entering turn 1. It's right behind Brandon Hawk, the race leader. The closest we have seen them two basically all race long. We're once again 3 wide near the mid-pack, but so far, Hawk, Galata, Avila, Hayes, and Nanny are top 5.
And we had a lot of blocking going down to turn 1 of that restart that time, so people were trying to get an early jump there, and a lot of people just saying, kind of just trying to shut the door there. But everyone's trying to single out here again, trying to avoid some more cautions here as we're side by side. River Hayes and Daniel Nanny, that's for the 4th position, with a Tyler Lateral falling in behind, and Zach Campbell kind of been staying right around where he's been the whole night, right around 6th to 7th place, battling with Brandon Hawkin. Those two have been going at it the entire night, it seems like, and right now just 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 throughout this field.
And this is really the first time up front that we're seeing anyone, let alone Daniel Nanny and Tyler Lateral, get around the top 5 or so that have been basically stagnant all race long. Avila and Hayes really haven't seen that much threat throughout this race, but Daniel Nanny's going to make his case known on the high side, getting around this 81. It's going to get chippy and a little close as Nanny runs that middle lane, but he'll surely win this fight for at least a moment. Exiting turn 2, he clears River Hayes entering turn 3, so Daniel Nanny, the Daytona winner, is on the move.
He is on the move indeed. Started in 16th tonight. It is now up to 4th for the time being, and is trying to make some moves that hopefully crack that top 3. Like that right-go machine has had the speed all night long, and he's trying to continue it, as well as he's trying to go after Johnny Avila to get onto the podium, and hopefully some more, as we are under 20 laps to go. This race has come to its conclusion very quickly. Not a lot of time left for guys like Kevin Champagne, who took 4 tires. He has somehow still survived all the mess. He's trying to make up some ground, but with the latest heat cycles we've been having, it's getting a little harder and harder to make these moves work.
And with this borrowed time, with about 16 to go, you're probably going to look at a lot more desperation from the drivers near the mid-pack. We already saw the splits of it when guys are going 3 and 4 wide, fresh off the restarts, just to gain a little extra track position and hence a little more points. At this moment, it's still 2 by 2 throughout the mid-pack, and nothing wild to note of other than this side-by-side battle building up here between Joshua Ballier and Cabe McClenny. McClenny started this race back in 19th. He's up inside the top 10, so about a plus 10 gain since the drop of the green. Still working on Ballier here, though, as they enter turn 1. It doesn't seem, though, Daniel, that any of the fresh tire advantage that Champagne, Mace, and the rest of them had, it really paying off. These guys in the front with the track position, despite being on pretty big old tire sets, they're about 30 laps older than those guys who came down pit road recently. They are still lacking behind all these guys who are on older tires and still maintain position up front.
Sure, and a lot of that has to do with the heat cycles we've had, because we've had a lot of cautions that have just allowed these guys to kind of cycle out, where the new tires just aren't as good as they used to be anymore, where they're still making it work a little bit. It's just not as strong as it was when they pitted. And right now they're trying to get all they can as we are closing in on the end of this race. Lap 108 on the board, coming to complete lap 108. There's going to be 12 to go when they get back to the stripe. And Joseph Galata, he ain't going away. This is really Brandon Hawk's first challenge. Look at him. He's trying to move his line around, trying to run the outside, but that gets Galata to the bottom. We might see our first side-by-side battle for the lead with 12 laps to go.
The closest we have seen the leaders all night long, and the first real chance that Joseph Galata has at taking away the race lead from the most dominant truck all night long. Galata on board, look to the inside as Hawk runs up high in 3 and 4. Galata has a nose there. Out of 4, Hawk will win the fight. It will be 10 to go. Caution is out. And it's Derek Heitman involved.
That is not what Joseph Galata needed whatsoever. That's his teammate, Derek Heitman, around in the back. And, man, we were starting to get a little spicy for the lead right there. That was the closest challenge Brandon Hawk has had this entire race. And thankfully, this caution is going to save him for the time being, as we're going to look at Derek Heitman. And this looks to be another bad bump. Carson Bowers. But he's been in the wars tonight, that's for sure. And Derek Heitman, really nothing he could have done. Just got a little innocent spin, an innocent bump there for, that looked to be right around the 20th position, I believe. It was like somewhere near the middle of the field. Just unfortunate. These guys trying to get to the end of this race, and just one thing after another for a lot of these guys.
You're right, it was around 20th where Johan Seminario was. Carson Bowers, who ended up getting into Heitman in the first place, and Seminario looking to pick back up after a early spin that didn't bring out a yellow and about fell a lap down to the leaders. Another look here at what happened between Heitman and Bowers. Just another tap entering the corner, under braking. Sends that 76 truck for a spin. He's going to bring his truck down pit road, so will a bunch of others. None of the leaders, though, are going to elect to do so, and I'd imagine that's because you want the track position. It doesn't matter how many laps you've had out there on your tires. If you are going to be ahead at the end of this race, you're going to take that risk if that truck ends up just blowing out any sense. But looks like for the moment everything is okay But Joseph Galata, how about the run? I know he's going to have less time here once we get this restart, but Hawk might feel a little more pressured this time. Galata was building up a lot of speed on that run.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it seemed like this is like we said, the first time all night. Brandon Hawk has had a real challenge from anybody, but Galata seems to have that short run speed, right, or like just a fire off on a heat cycle of tires. So definitely he's showing his cards right at the end of this race, but it's gonna get a little tougher because it seems like he needs like a lap or so, or like a couple laps to get up there to challenge Brandon Hawk, where Hawk has the advantage on these restarts because he can choose when he can go on the restarts and allows him to build a couple car lengths gap on Galata. So definitely, if Galata's going to have a shot at this win, he's probably going to need to go green from here on out, where there's not a lot of time. Probably going to be only like 7, maybe 6 laps to go when we go back green.
And with this late race caution, Daniel, I have to ask you, are we going to go to overtime? It seems like we're getting close to it.
Well, we've been in overtime in every second split race we've had this season, so I don't doubt we'll do it again. And we ended up using all 3 of our overtimes on Tuesday, so I mean, if I were a bet man, I wouldn't doubt on it. I'd probably place my bets on that, but anytime I try to bet on anything, I always usually lose out. So probably going to keep my mouth shut on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we go into overtime here. But yeah, I mean, you never know with these guys.
Me too. I might have to ask Noah Bitts for a bit of advice since he's sponsored by Hard Rock Sportsbook. Maybe he knows a little more than we do betting on this race. But for Brandon Hawk, he's led every single lap. Surely there might be pressure there on his dominance, and if that will fade away in the waning laps, Joseph Galata has been hungry to get to the front, had that real chance before the caution came out. We'll have another opportunity for this restart. We'll get it at lap 115 with about 5 laps to go from Richmond. We're happy that you're joining us for the closing laps of split number 2 of the 2024 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series on FTN. It's been a lot of fun between myself and Daniel Falkingham calling all of the action here in this second split. First split still around 15 laps to go. They are still under caution, and they've had a lot of carnage, much like we have over the course of the night. It's Brandon Hawk, race leader and control truck. Joseph Galata on the outside of the front row. Johnny Avila, Daniel Nanny to support from row 2. River Hayes to conclude your top 5. Could this be the final restart? Through the zone, Hawk underway. We're back under green from Richmond.
A really good start for Galata. He stayed pretty close there, and he's going to try to pop to the outside. He's going to barrel it down to turn 1 and 2, and he's going to not quite stick on his right rear. Brandon Hawk's going to get clear as everyone else is side by side as Daniel Nanny. He's trying to crack the podium for the first time all night long, and he's going to get that 3rd place. And Patrick Gitter, he's going around in the back. Carson Bowers, David L. Brown are going around in the back of the field, and that's another big one to add to the list tonight as we are back under caution.
Another parking lot at the exit of 4 involving many of those who have been involved in crashes tonight. There's John Hall getting through it. Agnell Phillip in the 3. A nightmarish evening from Richmond continues.
And to quote David L. Brown over the radio, he just said, "You 34 are easily the most trash 34 drivers on iRacing." And that's well, you know how his feelings are tonight. It's like the 3rd or 4th wreck he's been in, so he's definitely got a lot on his mind right there. And just with how his races go, as you see, like, he just gets clipped, and there goes Carson Bowers. Agnell Phillip, that's the 3rd or 4th wreck. Agnell Phillip's been involved tonight. And I wouldn't be surprised, a lot of these guys might be hitting the incident limit too, because with the incident limit, you have a 17X to work with before you get a black flag, a drive-through through too many incidents. And then you have a total of 25 incidents before you get DQ'd. So I wouldn't be surprised. That's something we haven't even mentioned, thinking about the incidents that you could be hitting in this race, as I believe that's Derek Heitman that really got sent to the inside wall that started all this. And then you see all the big junk that happens at the back of the field.
This is Dylan Pettis for Team Conti running 3 wide with Ballier, and Jacob Potak makes the contact with Potak, who wiggles on the back straightaway. Pettis goes hard into the inside wall, and as he ricochets up the surface and up the hill, there's everyone else to get involved. Yep. Patrick Gitter to spin. Yep. Carson Bowers, David Brown with a huge hit to the outside safer barrier, bringing Gitter with him. Agnell Phillip, who we mentioned is involved in this caution, so is John Hall. Basically everyone at this sector of the field getting some sort of lick of it. There's Pettis coming up the track, stacking everyone up and creating the parking lot.
Yeah, that was Dylan Pettis. Excuse me. I'm still trying to figure out all these names. I've been doing this for 4 weeks, and I still can't seem to get anyone's names right. But, yeah, just you can tell definitely a lot of these drivers are just absolutely fed up with this race tonight, which a lot of people expected with Richmond being a short track. It's gonna come down to that sometimes. And there's a lot of people expecting this kind of racing, that we're gonna have an early green flag run, and then once we get that first caution, it's cautions breed cautions, which is just unfortunate to see, really. Where what has been a pretty good race leading up to all the cautions, but right now, with Joseph Galata, we showed there he has a chance to maybe get Brandon Hawk, be his biggest challenger, but the problem is he's only gonna have 2 laps, because we are indeed, Kenneth pointed out, we are going overtime.
We are. Our first attempt of a green-white checkered. We will extend this race past the 120-lap distance. We'll show you the overtime rules as we go throughout. If we get some more, we will have the field restart with about 2 laps to go in this race. If we get a caution before the leader gets the white flag, we will restart it and do it all over again, to which we have 3 attempts at an overtime finish. If we exhaust all 3 of the overtime attempts, and the caution comes out on the final attempt before the white flag, then the leader at the time of the final caution will be declared the race winner. However, if the leader does get the white flag before a yellow is displayed on track, we are racing it to the stripe and to the checkered, no matter what. And with that is going to be Joseph Galata throwing everything and the kitchen sink to Brandon Hawk, because he was there, Daniel, on that recent restart. But the 31 just sent the door slamming to Galata. I'd imagine Galata is not going to be as nice this time around.
Yeah, and Brandon Hawk, he's doing what he needs to do. He was playing clear enough to just shut the door and just take his line away and just try to drive away. But, Galata, he's been in this position before where he started second, out of position to win, and unfortunately got wrecked on a late restart while on the front row. And he obviously doesn't want that to happen again. So, I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen there, but something to note, there are 2 right-go drivers starting first and third, so I don't know if we might have a little teammate game here where they might try to count each other down. We'll just have to wait and see. But obviously, this racing ain't over yet, because we still have 2 laps to go, but we have 3 overtimes to work with, so can they make it around in 1 overtime? I doubt it, but, I've been proven wrong before.
In a couple words, how would you describe the feeling of this overtime?
Very chaotic, 3 wide racing, a lot of wrecking, and we're going to restart. Well, let's see what happens.
Here we go. Brandon Hawk to the restart. He is pushed by Daniel Nanny, who's going to get the nose ahead of Joseph Galata entering turn 1. The first time we see Daniel Nanny crack into the top 3, basically all race long. He's going to hold Galata up at the exit of turn 2. As we approach the white flag, they're beating and banging near the mid-pack. If a caution comes out, we'll do this all over again. But out of turn 4, it is the 31 of Brandon Hawk to the white flag.
He has taken the white flag back down to turns 1 and 2. Joseph Galata trying to rip the top, and he's going to get a great drive off too. Does he have enough to get the Brandon Hawk down the back straight for the last time? Kenneth, they're coming to turn 3.
Brandon Hawk has led every single lap from 1 now to 123. He stays up front and wins a perfect night from Richmond.
What a great run there, Brandon Hawk. Definitely was the class of the field, and timed those restarts, had the restarts he needed at the end. Definitely a well-deserved win tonight, and a lot of points going to be going his way when it's all said and done.
Throughout all of the chaos, Brandon Hawk stays up front from the pole position to the checkered flag. A well-deserved win for the 31 truck, as he will take it out of turn 4 and celebrate his first win of the 2024 Road to Pro qualifying iRacing Series season here in Split 2. And I believe, Daniel, this is the first time we've seen Brandon Hawk in this split throughout the season. On a 1 overtime attempt, Hawk is perfect.
Pretty sure number 31 truck, one of the last guys, I believe number 31 out of 35 drivers that did take the green flag tonight. So yeah, definitely new to the split probably tonight, and gonna take a well-deserved burnout through the ground, or is he just, no, he's just gonna park it in the old victory lane here. There we go. He's going to do some burnouts there on the infield of the old victory lane here at Richmond on the front straightaway. As you saw, Daniel Nanny's there on the front stretch there. Almost got a 1-2 there for right go, but a 1-3 ain't too bad either. And he's going to celebrate. And hopefully, after this quick break, hopefully we can get a chance to talk with all 3 of these guys.
A tradition built here at Sim Racing Richmond to where Brandon Hawk is celebrating at the Richmond Raceway logo in the old Victory Lane. We'll take a short break and we will be right back with post-race coverage and more of Race 4 and Round 1 of the 2024 eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series on FTN. Welcome back to Richmond Raceway, where after 123 laps and an overtime restart, we have our full race results with Brandon Hawk at the front of the field. After all 123 laps, he leads from the drop of the green to the drop of the checkered. A phenomenal race by the 31 of Hawk, his first win in Split 2 this season. Joseph Galata with a back-to-back podium finish after a great run at Atlanta 2 weeks ago. He ends up in second at the checkered flag from Richmond. Daniel Nanny for Ryko moved up from 16th on the starting grid and is one of your biggest movers throughout the night. He finishes inside the top 3. We'll talk to all of them before we wrap up our coverage tonight on FTN. Tyler Lateral on the number 6 machine rolls off from 7th. He ends up 4th at the checkered flag. Johnny Avila, a proud race from Richmond after starting 2nd, running in the top 5 all evening long to finish in 5th. Brandon Hawken, the Canadian driver, fought for all of his track position and ends up in P6. Cade McClenny going to come home in 7th. River Hayes to finalize the top 8. Zach Campbell out of the Porsche Esports Super Cup is going to be in 9th. Kevin Champagne to finish the top 10. Jake Nichols and Jacob Potak, Daniel Falkingham round out the top 12.
And Joshua Ballier, he's going to finish at 13th. Dalton Malam, he had a spin early. He rebounds to 14th. Great run for him. Dylan Pettis will round out the top 15 there. Alex Murray, Noah Bitts, Justin Patello, Joan Seminario, he had a rough go at it, but he was able to get up there. And Patrick Gitter, they're going to round out the top 20. And pretty much everyone from here on back had some really rough showings out here tonight. Matthew Boniface, Perrin Hudgens, Derek Heitman, and Matt Danson rounds out this page of results. They had some rough nights for sure.
Back there, 25th is going to be Carson Bowers in his 32 machine. He had a rough one tonight from Richmond. And Travis Manning the same in 26th. John Hall in 27th. Will Cooley had a great start to this race, but fell back and got caught up in all of the madness at the rear of the field. Ends up 28th. Agnell Phillip had a pretty beat-up race truck by the end of this one. This is a race he'd also like to forget from 29th. Jimmy Norman going to round out the top 30. Then it's David Brown, Jack Mace, Connor Yaroshak, Hamilton Akabueze, and Kyle Brummett to round out the top 35 and the rest of the field from Richmond, Virginia. Well, let's take a moment to speak with the driver occupying Richmond victory lane after leading all 132 laps. It's Brandon Hawk caught up with Daniel Falkingham.
Brandon Hawk here, sitting in victory lane at Richmond Raceway. I believe this is the first time we've seen you in the second split. I could be wrong, but definitely went out and showed those boys what's up tonight. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks, Daniel. Yeah, definitely didn't expect to be in second split tonight, but glad things worked out the way it did.
Yeah, talk us through the night. It seemed like it was all smooth sailing for you from green to checkered. You definitely had your battles with Joseph Goulart. He was sneaking up on you there at the end on those last few short runs. But overall, it seemed like a very good night for you.
Yeah, I mean, definitely unexpected. I didn't really expect to qualify on the pole. I was feeling a little bit tight in the practice session and just kind of needed to calm the nerves a little bit going into qualifying. Back down 1 and 2 quite a lot from before, and it absolutely stuck. And then at that moment, I knew, I'm like, oh gosh, I think I got something here. So that was definitely a nice surprise. That obviously made a world of difference. It's so tough to battle through here and to pass at this track. But yeah, for the most part, the race went really well. Got to thank the guys at Ryko for all their hard work each and every week. Definitely made a night and day difference. Made the car a lot easier to work there. But also shout out to the guys in the top 10 for the majority of the top 10 at least. Everyone raced pretty darn clean throughout the whole session there, and a little bit of pressure at the end with Joseph coming. He definitely, found an extra gear within the last 40 laps.
Yeah, and definitely it's going to help you a lot with the points as well. This, like I said, I think our first time seeing you in second split, so we're not really familiar with the season you've had so far, but even with this win tonight, it's going to for sure help you in the points.
Yeah, definitely. I think a win in second split is going to help anybody in the points, so really excited for that.
And talk about going to Texas, I believe, is the next track we're off to next. Like, we took a break from a lot of wide open throttle racing at Vegas and Atlanta. We had this short track tonight, but it seems like we're getting right back to some mile and a halves and a lot of on throttle time. Talk about Texas in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, excited going forward to Texas. Hopefully we can carry that momentum. I'm sure we'll have a piece going into Texas, so looking forward to that. It's going to be nice going to those mile and a halves that are a little more technical. I'm also hoping that we get to see a little bit of dynamic track, some hotter track temps. I'm sure everybody's looking forward to. Would be a whole heck of a lot of fun being able to move around and having some good side-by-side racing at those mile and a halves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, once again, congratulations on the win tonight. I don't know, you've already shouted out Ryko for all the hard work. You got any other shouts you want to give before we let you go?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Actually, shout out to my spotter, Justin Collison, for showing up tonight and, being the voice in my ear to keep me calm in those last couple laps there.
Absolutely. Brandon, once again, congratulations on a green to checkered sweep, leading every single lap from the pole. Very much congratulations tonight, and best of luck to Texas in 2 weeks. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
That is Brandon Hawk, your race winner tonight from Richmond. And Kenneth, I believe you are gonna talk with Joseph Goulart, who was just here and is all of a sudden gone. I don't know where he went.
Oh, he was supposed to be here. We were bringing him in from second place, but Joseph Goulart ends up as the second place truck at the evening's end. We'll see if we can grab Goulart in just a couple of moments. There he is back in the game, so we'll get him back in. There we are. Welcome, Joseph Goulart. I remember 2 weeks ago.
And he's gone.
Oh, he's gone again. Well, I believe we'll try and take some time to wait to see if Goulart can get into this voice chat. But for now, we'll turn it to the third place truck in Daniel Nanny. And Daniel, boy, this was a big run for you. You started back in 16th. You had an eye on basically all of the chaos throughout this field, whether it was 3 and 4 wide action. You find your way up here late in the waning laps. What was that like, and how wild was it to get through all of the mayhem to finish in top 3 position?
Oh, man, it was, I tell you one thing, it was a lot of fun. Like, taking it through wide. At one point, I was even 4 wide. It was chaotic, and I never had as much fun on the sim as I did during this race because it was clean racing for the majority of it. So it was, yeah, I just had so much fun going through all the chaos throughout this race.
And you really experimented with a lot of different lines, and you carried yourself well with a lot of different drivers around you. I remember there were parts of the race where you, Brandon Hawk, and Zach Campbell, among the groups of drivers that you were with just moving up to the field? It felt like everywhere you were, drivers around you were moving ahead. What was this truck like feeling-wise behind the wheel, and how did it help you move up through the field, especially through all of the cautions and some of the runs we had throughout the night?
The truck felt amazing. We put a lot of time and effort on the setup for like the last 2 weeks at Riker, and we were able to dial in and the setup over the last few days, and we were able to just make it just perfect throughout the entire week leading into the race, because the officials were at Richmond this week, so we had to like adjust based on like what the truck should feel like for that week. So yeah, the truck felt like amazing. It was one of the most perfect feelings I felt at a track that I wouldn't been confident going into throughout the weekend. Yeah, I just have a lot of thanks going to Ryko, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even be in the top 3.
And speaking of top 5 finishes throughout this season, you've had every top 5 except one, and it was at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but you won at Daytona, and then at Atlanta, you got a top 5 finish. Tonight at Richmond, it's a top 3 finish here at the short track, despite everything that happened. What does that mean for you and your Ryko team as you guys move forward through the rest of round 1, and how do you carry this momentum moving forward to Texas Motor Speedway 2 weeks from now?
It's gonna be a huge momentum factor. It's been a huge season for Ryko, especially for me at least, just finishing the top 3 in 3 of the 4 races. And the first half of round 1 has been nothing but perfect for me, and I'm honestly shocked that I'm in this position right now, because last year I didn't do very well. So this year I'm just happy that I have 3 top 5 finishes, including the win, and all in second place.
Having a really great round 1 for 2024 in this Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. Daniel, before we let you go on this 3rd place finish, is there anyone else you'd like to give the shout out to or thank for tonight's run?
Dude, give a major shout out to Echo Motorsports. Everybody there, Ken, Jacob, Brandon, Brad. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even have the setup that we have this season, and I wouldn't be where I am at now. And I have to give a shout out to our sponsors at Ryko, the Gossip Bus Lines, and all the sponsors you see on my truck throughout round 1. And my parents, I know they're watching, so I'm on my dad. We're finally back in the roof again. And yeah, that's about it.
Well, Daniel, we really appreciate the time. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish tonight from Richmond, and best of luck at Texas Motor Speedway. We're excited to see you and the rest of the field take the track in 2 weeks.
Thank you, guys.
That's Daniel Nanny for Ryko Motorsports, getting a top 3 finish at the end of this crazy race from Richmond Raceway. And we'll see, Daniel, if we can finally get a word with the 2nd place finisher, Joseph Galata.
Yes, Joseph Galata, and
he's gone again.
Okay, hang on. If he comes back one more time, how about we try something different? Will we go to him? Like, if he pops up in the waiting room, let's go to him this time and see if we can do that. We'll wait for him to pop back one more time. We are here with Joseph Galata. Sorry about the technical difficulties there, but finally get a chance to talk to you. Coming home in 2nd place tonight. Just talk about it.
It was a pretty solid effort with this truck. I had this expectation after Atlanta, as I said last race. So, yeah, I'm sorry for the technical issues. I think it's on my end, and it probably has to do with the stream being shared in Discord, but I have no idea.
Yeah, our apologies for that. Every time we try to get you in the booth, it seemed like you were just disconnecting. So we hate that, but we're finally glad we could get a word with you there. But talk us about your race. It seemed like you were just you qualified 3rd, and you just hung around there throughout the whole night. But it seemed like there in the final 20 laps or so, you had something there for Mr. Brandon Hawk there, but the cautions just didn't quite fall your way, and you just ran out of time.
You said it pretty good there. I felt like my truck definitely came in after the halfway point, but we were never really able to see what it had because the yellows were happening like every 5 laps. Sadly, I had one opportunity to start biting at it, and then the yellow came out. So I just, going for points and not doing anything egregious or stupid, that's the big picture that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I must felt good to kind of veer away from the 1.5 miles, like how much on throttle time that we've been having the last couple of weeks, and then come down to a short track. You survive a short track, But now we're on our way to Texas, back to a lot of wide open throttle. But definitely, like with a track with two different ends of the speedway, it's going to be very technical. Talk about your plan in 2 weeks to Texas, because it seems like right now you got a good train rolling. I know you want to keep it going as good as possible.
Yeah, the goal is to keep the momentum going for sure. I'm gonna put in a lot of testing, try some new things, make sure we're ahead of the competition. And just go out there and try and stay consistent with it and not get caught up in some nonsense that happened like the first 2 races this season. I just want to be able to walk out of Texas and the next remaining tracks in round one with, a clean truck, and that's really the goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's a shame you came so close to a win, but second one left to do, but still great points to take with you to the next race. So congratulations on the P2 tonight. Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to thank Team Conti Sim Performance. As always, they are producing phenomenal race trucks, and if you're ever interested in trying this out, just go see teamconti.gg on the internet. You could use my promo code JOEG10 to get 10% off on our weekly setups, and if you like it, join our community.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congratulations again on the P2 tonight. You were in contention all night long, and you finished, and you still a really good finish to show for it. So congratulations, and best of luck in 2 weeks in Texas.
Thank you so much, guys.
That is Joseph Gulata with the P2 finish. And Kenneth, I'd say it's time to wrap things up after what was for sure a wild race tonight here in Virginia.
It certainly was, and after 123 laps, we finally have the checkered flag. A really fun evening from Richmond regardless, and have to give the acknowledgement of what happened in Split 1 that just finished several moments ago. A big congratulations to Jake Matheson for winning and outlasting the rest of the competition at the end of that one. But Daniel, we had a really chaotic one from Richmond, one that we expected for sure, but obviously we still had a great race regardless. We had a long green flag run to start. Then we had the cautions in between and 3 and 4 wide action. But the common thread throughout it all, Daniel, was Brandon Hawk. A massively impressive win leading from lap 1 to lap 123.
Absolutely. Brandon Hawk pretty much did what he wanted to do. And that's what every driver wishes that could happen to them. Just be able to just have that good of a race where you just qualify up front, you stay up there, and you take them to checkered flag when it's all said and done. So hats off to Brandon Hawk on a very good race tonight. And with him, like we mentioned, this is his first race in the second split that we've seen him. And with him winning the race, that's a lot of points that are going to be going his way towards making that top 70. And a lot of these drivers, a lot of them had some rough nights that they definitely want to forget about and move on to Texas. For sure, as we have now, I'm pretty sure have now crossed the halfway point of round 1 in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. So, especially if you haven't been having this good of a season yet, it's crunch time. It's time to start trying to avoid a lot of mess and trying to start getting some more results.
You were mentioning those drivers who really want to forget tonight's race from Richmond. They have to keep it in their memory banks though, because they want to make sure they can get back to winning ways, or at least get back to good points once they come to Texas Motor Speedway. A return to mile-and-a-half racing, but this track very different from the likes of Atlanta and Las Vegas that we visited several weeks ago. This track has 2 different ends of the racetrack that you have to worry about after its reconfiguration in 2017. What's the challenge for the field as they go to Texas and try to close out the season at Dover, Darlington, and then Charlotte Motor Speedway for round 1?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at that schedule, that's probably 4 different tracks, like 4 different types of racetracks we're going to, even though Charlotte and Texas may be the same in distance, the characters and just how the track races, they are very different. So just the way how round 1 has been, just so many different variety of racetracks that we're going to be coming down to over the next couple of weeks. So I'm really looking forward to see how the second half of round 1 plays out. Looking forward to see if we're going to have, any new winners. We're going to have the same guys running up front like what we've seen tonight. Guys like Gulata, guys like Nanny, guys like Johnny Avila, Brandon Hawk, and guys like that we've been seeing run up front throughout the entire season. They were right back up here again tonight. So we'll hope to see that they continue the pace in 2 weeks' time at Texas. But for now, it's all Brandon Hawk tonight.
A trip to the Lone Star State awaits the 40 best stock car racing drivers in Split 2 of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series. That coverage will come your way 2 weeks from tonight. That will be April 11th. You'll find the coverage live at 8 p.m. Eastern. We hope to have Jason Rockefeller back in the booth with us in that race, so that'll come your way again. April 11th, 8 p.m. Eastern. You'll find it right here on the FTN YouTube channel. That would do it for our coverage of split number 2 in the 2024 eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series from Richmond. A big congratulations to Brandon Hawk from leading every single lap to the checkered flag and getting his first win of the 2024 Road to Pro season. On behalf of everyone at FTN that makes this all possible, on behalf of everyone that works hard at eNASCAR, and for our crew on the broadcast tonight, of course, for Jason Rockefeller, we hope to see him in 2 weeks' time. Before my colleague in the booth tonight, eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver Daniel Falkingham, I'm Kenneth Bueno, saying so long from the Commonwealth of Virginia. We visit the Lone Star State and Fort Worth, Texas, 2 weeks from tonight. You won't want to miss it.